when you have a Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk in a room, I'm not sure how they fit because of the egos. And so it's not surprising to me.
But they would have known that before, wouldn't they? That's the thing.
Well, but I think in the rush,
It doesn't look like a great decision, does it?
no, no, right.
I mean, would you put those two together? I don't know.
No, it just seems like, wow, something's going to happen there.
I mean, what a day it's been. What are your feelings right now? What are your emotions?
Yeah, it's been a couple days, right? It's been a pretty wild couple days here in DC. I always, it's my second inauguration that I've attended. In general, inaugurations just really, I love the pomp and the circumstance, and I love the emotion around it, and it's lovely to see former presidents and vice presidents and Congress and SCOTUS and all of those folks like in one room, seat of power, doing something that we've done now. This year was the 60th, according to the chairwoman of the inauguration, Amy Klobuchar, the 60th. And so, just in general, that as a political nerd, a patriot. And as an 8-year-old that dreamed of being the president herself one day, it's quite an exciting day.
So tell us about what you witnessed personally. Where were you? What did you see? What stays with you from the inauguration?
So I was a guest of Senator Amy Klobuchar. She's from Minnesota. I'm from Minnesota, and so I was in the Capitol. I was in there was the rotunda with like SCOTUS in the state and the House in the legislature, and then there was a hall, Emancipation Hall in the Capitol. And so President Trump, the ceremony was performed, and then President Trump came to Emancipation Hall. So we really had an unbelievable day at the Capitol, and was sitting next to, I mean, there was just to my left was just a multiple rows of governors from all kinds of states. We saw just, foreign dignitaries. We've talked about this, right? We saw a lot of like, we saw a lot of celebrities singing. We saw a lot of rich guys hanging out on Millionaire Row or whatever they're calling it. It was a day full of all kinds of things.
And what did you think then of his speech? Um, from a neutral point of view, he was very what we call very boosterish. He's someone who really wants to enthuse people, talk directly to people, make people feel positive, kind of, really rile them up. But then, of course, within that, there are concerns. Some people would be concerned, for example, objectively, when he says that he wants to get America out of the Paris Climate Agreement, come out of the WHO tariffs. I mean, these are things that have global consequences. I understand from an American internal point of view, it's different. Are you completely on board with all that stuff?
No, no. I mean, for one, exactly. The tariffs are not just a global concern, but the cost of goods in America is likely to rise greatly. So I'm not on board with every. I mean, I've been, I'm one of those people that I'm not a never Trumper and I'm not MAGA, right? If he does something good, I'll say it. If he does something I don't like, I'll say it. I think that is like, in that way, I think of myself as just a normal American. And so it's not everything, but there are things in his speech that I found, really good. There are things I agree with. Our border has been a disaster. Our economy has been really difficult for Americans, and that has to do with inflation, and that has to do with, sort of like there's many factors that I would like to see worked on, across the world. The whether it's Israel or Ukraine or but our relationship with China. He talked about the Panama Canal, and that we gave that to Panama. One of his, I said he said we gave that to Panama. China's running it now. We didn't. We gave it to Panama, not China. That's like, and so we're gonna, and he speaks in hyperbole, but then also you have to sort of realize that sometimes it's not always hyperbole. Like he's saying what he means. So anyway, it was a real mix. Also, I think his speech in the rotunda was very different than the speech that he gave when he came to see us in Emancipation Hall. So he spoke in the rotunda, and then he came down and he spoke in Emancipation Hall, and there were very different messages in both of those speeches. In fact, he said they told me not to say this upstairs, but I'm going to come down here and I'm going to tell you all. So anyway, it was just there was a lot to unpack in what he was saying.
Now, I just wanted to ask you quickly about borders because he says, state of emergency declared on the southern border. Certain policies will be cancelled, kind of catch and release, remain in Mexico, all this stuff. Is it true or is it not true? I'm sure you'll correct me because I did see a graph flash up on the TV yesterday, and it showed that the number of deportations under President Biden were much higher than the number of deportations when Donald Trump was last president.
Right. So in the last 6 months, their policies were much more similar. Biden's policies reflected much more of Donald Trump's original. And so that's true in the last 6 months. But by Biden administration's own numbers, since Biden's inauguration on this day in 2020, there has been the border has been unmanageable by their own definition, which is 2,500 illegal crossings a day. That's not Trump's people. That's Biden's people saying that. And since his inauguration in January 20th of 2020, it was unmanageable every day except in the last 6 months when they sort of instituted tougher rules. And I think in part that was a perception that he was going to be just it was going to be an open border. There was a lot of talk, and I think a lot of people, attempted to come in, but I also think there was a lot of mismanagement at the border. So.
And can I ask you about climate change as well? Again, globally, some people are very worried about this because America is a very influential actor, and when the president of the United States of America says, that Paris climate thing, yeah, we're going to rip that up, we're coming out of it, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. Now, again, I understand that's about kind of self-interest, that's about boosting the American economy, etc. But climate change to many people is a huge issue. It's a real thing. And if America says, well, we're not interested in this, then other people presumably will say, well, they're not interested, so why should we be? And I wonder what you think about a world like that.
Yeah, well, so I think that there's a difference between. I mean, first of all, there are other countries that are disregarding that already, right? And we all know that, right? China is one of the biggest polluters in the world, and yet no one is going to the president and asking him, about what he feels. They're just like, well, China does it, but America should be better. And in a way, America should be better, right? We should lead on this and all these issues. But I think what I really hear, this is the guy who makes a deal, and I think what he's saying is the Paris Climate Accord is not a good deal for America. And so we will we can play our part and we need to play our part in this. But, on a world stage, we need a better deal than that. We're not going to we're not going to tie our hands while there's massive pollution across the world, not playing by the same rules. So if we're going to be a global deal, let's be a global deal.
I just wanted to ask you about Vivek Ramaswamy. I watched the inauguration in the rotunda, and I don't know. I thought he looked a bit sad, and he's left Doge already. What happened there? Do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting, right? And I guess every administration will have folks come and go. I oftentimes, I mean, it's not going to surprise you. I've been in politics for a while as an elected, and now as a lobbyist and an advisor. And sometimes there's big look when you have a Trump, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Elon Musk in a room. I'm not sure how they fit because of the egos. And so it's not surprising to me.
But they would have known that before, wouldn't they? That's the thing.
Well, but I think in the rush,
It doesn't look like a great decision, does it?
no, no, right.
I mean, would you put those two together? I don't know.
No, it just seems like, wow, something's going to happen there. But during the rush and excitement of a campaign, when everybody's pulling, for something, working towards something big, and then things just don't like fall out, that's not too unusual. It doesn't entirely surprise me.
So to wrap up, then, can you give me maybe 3 words about how you're feeling today?
Yeah, so I'm forward looking. I'm hopeful. And I'm trepidatious. I think that it is all those things. Is it frozen when you're both excited and frightened at the same time? I'm frozen. That'd be the one word.
Amy, thank you very much. Thank you.